Hi everyone, I'm Jo Fry and this is my channel, Jojo Fry Rocks, and in this video we're going to be talking about potentially doing some mods to this guitar. So this is my Fender Squier Strat, which I've had since kind of October last year, so that's 2024. I've just finished paying it off. So I've been thinking that since I had some modifications done to the guitar that I made myself, I've been reading Jerry Hayes' book, Complete Guitar Wiring, and just thinking a little bit more about having a go at maybe changing some things on this guitar myself, if I can. So I've got a few ideas about things that I might like to change about it, but I thought it was probably worth getting some input from some of you, because I know that you do this stuff all the time. You self-build and you mod guitars, so it'd be quite interesting, I think, to get some of your thoughts. So I already spent a fair bit of money on this guitar, probably more than I should have done, really, given that it is just a Squier. It's just a Squier Strat. There's nothing particularly special about it. It's special to me because it was a 1990s, early 90s Korean-made Squier, which is more or less the same as the first guitar that I ever had, my first ever electric guitar. And I've been looking for one for a number of years, and I eventually found this one and sort of rescued it, basically. I did a whole video about it, so you can go and watch if you want to know a bit about the backstory. But yeah, I've been loving playing it. It's featured in a couple of other videos, and I did a full sort of restring and setup, clean, polished the frets, so it's still in, still looking pretty good. Still looks in, fairly nice condition, and it's been fun. It's been really, really, really nice to play. But there are a couple of things that I think would make it even better. So to start off with, these are just the ordinary kind of bog standard Squier tuners. They're all right. They're okay. They work, obviously. But since having the Squier thin line telly, which I had, that was the first guitar that I've had that had the vintage style split shaft tuners, and I really, really liked those. They made changing the strings so easy and quick, and you don't have any sharp bits and ends sticking out, which isn't always that nice, and you have to kind of like file them down and things so that you don't catch yourself on them and things like that. So I have thought about swapping the tuners, and that is something that's fairly simple and I can easily do that myself. So it's just a case of weighing up how much that's going to cost, really, because having already paid, I think, $350 for this guitar, I don't want to really sort of go overboard and spend too much more on it. But I think changing the tuners would be nice. Similarly, the string trees, these are just, again, your bog standard string trees. They're not the best. So it might be nice to get, some slightly nicer string trees. And again, that's fairly easy, can do that myself. The other thing that I was thinking was that, Squiers obviously are budget guitars. They always were, and particularly in the early 90s. I mean, they're good. They're very, very good. But they don't have things that, like, budget guitars nowadays seem to come with. like as standard. So comparing this, say, to the Jet telly that I've recently acquired, that has got very nice sort of rolled edges to the fretboard, and it just makes it really noticeable then when you play a guitar that doesn't have that. And that is actually something that is reasonably straightforward to do yourself. That's just a question of a bit of sanding, so a bit of time, just, spending a little bit of time giving it a little bit of love and making it nicer and more comfortable to play. And I did notice that there were a couple of cheeky rockers when I checked the frets, as Paul Richards would say, Milehouse Studios. So it might be worth actually going a bit further than just sort of polishing the frets and spending a tiny little bit of time making sure that they're all nice and level. And I think, I could probably get away with doing that with a frettilizer. So I'll probably invest in one of those, because that's worthwhile, especially if you've got multiple guitars. It's not an expensive system. It's relatively easy to use. We've all seen Paul using it loads and loads on those budget guitars that he does, his Monday fluff pieces. So I think it would be worth actually having a proper go over these frets and just kind of doing a bit of sanding and making the neck feel a little bit nicer. I was also considering, so may or may not, but I was thinking about maybe sanding the finish off of the back of the neck, just to kind of give it a satin finish rather than the gloss finish. Because again, after playing the Jet telly, I'm just finding that I really, really prefer that nice kind of satin feel. It didn't really even occur to me that I could do that before. So, it's all personal preference, isn't it? I've got a lot of gloss neck guitars. It's never been really a problem. But I think on a Strat style or a telly style guitar, for some reason, it just seems more noticeable. So I might, whilst I'm at it, taking the sandpaper to the fretboard, to the edges of the fretboard, might as well give the back of the neck a go, and see if I can sort of take that finish off and just like make it feel a little bit nicer. So, those are the things that I've been thinking about in terms of the neck and tuners. And then there are a couple of things that I was thinking about trying in terms of the electronics. I've never been particularly happy about the fact that, so this pot here was changed when I bought the guitar. So you can see it kind of sticks up a little bit more than the other two, because when I bought the guitar, that pot actually crackled quite a lot. So I asked him to change it before I bought it, and he didn't have the right size pot, so he just kind of put this one in, and I was sort of planning to go back at some time in the future and get it changed for the right one. However, that shop has now gone out of business, and I just didn't manage to get back there before they actually closed down. So I've kind of been stuck with that pot, which is kind of the wrong size. But more than just kind of swapping out a pot, I thought, well, actually, I might explore changing the pickups or changing the wiring. So I'm thinking this could go one of two ways, right? So I could either take sort of the Kurt Cobain approach. No, I don't mean like smash the thing up to bits. Like just like take a hammer to it, completely wreck it. Because that's what he generally used his Strats for. He had quite a lot of made in Mexico and made in Japan Strats, which he seemed to almost exclusively use to smash them up at the end of a show. But his guitar tech always usually managed to piece them back together again, because he was brilliant. But no, I'm not talking about doing that. What he always seemed to favour was putting a Seymour Duncan Hot Rails pickup in the bridge position. So I thought that might be cool, because although I quite like the pickups actually on this guitar, and I don't mind the sound of them. It sounds very classic Strat kind of tones. The bridge is always it's always everyone's sort of least favourite, really, isn't it? Or not necessarily, depends if you're a Strat person, I guess. But that bridge pickup is usually the one that people want to change. And I thought, well, I could have a go. Seymour Duncans are fairly expensive though, so I'm sort of considering whether I want to go to that kind of expense. Although I could probably find a similar type sort of hot rail humbucker pickup for less than what you'd pay for a Seymour Duncan. I'm sure I could. So yeah, then you've got your kind of HSS setup, which obviously gives you a lot more versatility, which is why people, I think, quite like to have HSS Strats. So that's one option, and I think that would be quite straightforward. Very much up for changing the pickguard. This is just a single ply white pickguard, so nothing special at all. And yeah, if I need to change the pickguard to do any of these modifications, more than happy to do so. Maybe get something a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting, a bit more personality, perhaps. So yeah, that's one option. They already changed the bridge and trem unit, because the original one had completely kind of crumbled. It was just dead. So that's a new bridge and trem unit anyway, so I don't really see the need to change anything about that. I don't really use the trem arm, so one thing I could think about is just hardtailing it, just decking the trem, because like I say, it's not really something that I use, but at the same time it's not really causing me any issues. It's not like it's a Floyd Rose. So yeah, so I could do that. I may or may not, but that's something that you can always fairly easily do. The other option, of course, the classic mod that you can do on a Strat or a Strat style guitar is the Gilmour mod. So what you would do is install a mini toggle switch kind of here, or somewhere around here. And what you'd be able to do with that then is, as well as having the usual kind of 5-way setup, so like position 1, the bridge, position 2, bridge and middle, position 3, middle, position 4, neck and middle, and position 5, neck. What you would then have with the toggle switch is, if you switch it on, it kind of means that the, I think, neck pickup is always on. So what you would get is, in position 5, you would be able to select the bridge and the neck in parallel, which is pretty cool. And apparently that gives you a kind of Telecaster middle position kind of tone. So that's quite interesting. So we could have that, and then if you put the selector switch into position 4 with the switch on, of course that's going to give you all 3 of the single coils at the same time, because you've got the bridge in the middle and then the neck pickup on as well. So obviously that's going to give you an option that you would not ever usually have on a Strat. And it's quite a simple modification to do. Probably something that a complete beginner, I think, should be able to do. So I would potentially be up for giving that one a go. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the things that I might want to change on this guitar and things that I could potentially do myself, obviously with a little bit of guidance from some YouTube videos, and I might give my new friend Jerry a call. But yeah, let me know what you think. And is there anything else that you think I could potentially do? Nothing too complicated or expensive, and just with like a soldering iron. I'm not going to start getting into anything more than what you can do just at home. I don't have a workshop. I don't have loads and loads of tools and machinery. So, obviously, yes, if I had a workshop and stuff, then yeah, there might be more possibilities. But this is just, what can I do to kind of revamp this Squier Strat a little bit within the realms of what you could do on your dining table at home with a soldering iron and stuff. So yeah, let me know in the comments what suggestions you would have, and what your sort of preferences would be, or what mods you've done on a similar guitar to this. Cheers everyone, see you next time.